Squire hot micing. What's the best golf tournament of the year? Morning, sir. What was news there? Jolts was actual 9.026 million, forecast 8.75 million. Consumer confidence was actual 1.14, or sorry, 114.8. Forecast was 114.45. Both of those, usually, if the actual is greater than the forecast, it's greater for currency. If it's greater for currency, it's not good for NQ. With that, ES and NQ are both negative delta. Would you say it filled a gap on the day? Yeah, we're under high a day. Under, I can, yeah. Yeah, I'm still somewhat new to it. I've just heard the guys on Top Step talking about it so much, so I did some looking. Delta is, so there's a certain amount of bids and asks every single time that price moves. A positive delta is when there are more asks than there are bids. A negative delta is when there are more bids than asks. So when I send that chart, like let me send this chart here. Figure out how to. I'll send it in premium chat or trading chat. Um, copy image. So when it's processing. So ideally you want to see price move with delta. That means that, for example, if it's moving down, if price is moving down, but delta is not making new lows, that means that the sellers are not as aggressive as they were to start, because they're not making as many bids. They're kind of just putting their order out there and waiting to get filled. Okay, sorry, I thought somebody else typed in there. Now, if I go to yesterday, bear with me. Oh, I can't go to Wait, yeah, I can't go to yesterday. I think I have a screenshot of it in another chat. 1 sec. Here we go. So here was yesterday's price action, ES versus NQ. Typing in trading chat. Actually, I'll put it up on the stream. Wait, what? The image pasted is way too large. Okay. Here we go. I'm putting it up on the stream here. So here was ES and NQ yesterday. So ES is on the left, I believe. Yep. So from 9:30, which was right about here, and 9:30 was right about here on NQ. So you can see ES is gaining positive delta, which means even if we're going down, we're still going up on the delta, which means that sellers are not they're not slamming the bid. Here on NQ, delta is going down, which means that sellers are getting aggressive, but price is not. And so, especially seeing this divergence would have probably kept me out of some trades yesterday. So I did some looking at it last night and yesterday for a couple hours, and it makes sense. So I'm starting to implement that a little bit into my trading. I haven't gone in depth enough to like footprints and whatnot, but just the seeing delta and seeing how aggressive buyers or sellers are being at that moment has been helpful for me looking back a couple days. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah, there was yesterday it was more the delta was just interesting on ES that it wasn't making new lows. Like right now NQ is making has like a internal change of character to the upside for positive delta. But it's still negative on the day. So I'm probably not looking to get short until this delta tells me that sellers have come back into the arena per se. I'm mostly, and this is part of the data analysis that I've been doing, looking for, if there's red folder news, how wide is the range? What's the best trade? How many ticks or how many points are the best trade? How wide is the range from open to close, wick to wick, etc. And then delta here, it's all trying to point back to just trying to find out when we're in chop versus when we're ramping up, right? Because sometimes it's okay to have a little bit of consolidation before a huge flush, but yesterday it wasn't like that. Yesterday it was just chop, although it looked like it was just on the brink of failure the whole day. But so delta here is is interesting. And then I also have some depth of market there. I'm trying out that trading platform I talked about, and really, really liking it so far. Just making sure I don't get analysis paralysis per se. Like right now, I see that there's a bigger order right at 55. So if price breaks through that, then it'd be interesting to see where the next, let me see, next spot's at 60s. Positive delta here still. So because of that, this 2-2 reversal that what did look pretty appealing kind of kept me out of it for now. All right, let's see. Mag 7 here. Had some climb overnight on Microsoft. Nvidia, Amazon, both at low of day. Two and a half minutes left on this 5-minute candle. Coming into today, totally. Yeah, go ahead. So I found one that so there's this one by Geo Lucas that kind of shows it. The problem is with Delta, you need to see orders coming in and out, and TradingView does not see that. Depending on your broker or who you use for a prop firm, there might be one on that trading platform. I know there's a cumulative delta on Tradeovate. I don't know if there's one on NinjaTrader. Let me see. Okay, let me see if there's one on Ninja. Somebody telling me there is. That was not that. Indicators. Okay. It is under order flow cumulative delta on NinjaTrader. See if that shows for you. So here I can see ES has negative delta and Q still is negative, but not quite follow in market direction. Mario, let me know if that order flow cumulative delta shows up for you on Ninja. You have to have a lifetime license for what? For Ninja? Oh, you have to have the extra license, the $40 or whatever. Gotcha. This isn't here. Let me add it up here and see how it compares. Yeah, so this isn't, I mean, other than it's not positive delta currently, which is, I guess, a problem for for that. But it is pretty similar, but not completely accurate. You're only going to get the most accurate if you get the order flow data. But now NQ's making a good delta move. So I think we should be valid for a short here. Failed 2-2 on the 5. Kind of entering today being totally okay with taking 0 trades. I'll stare at price action. I'll get in a trade that looks great, but just watching for now. We might have 10 o'clock turnaround time too. Gonna have a 1 minute change of character here. Outside bar possibly on the 5. Looking like a liquidity sweep on the 15 and the 5 for that matter. Right now, I'm at a point where I need to see a little more action before I go short, but not so much to go long. 5 minute outside bar could play the 3-2, especially with Delta coming back up. Wonder if I can stream this somehow. right. I just tried to switch my screen over to my screen instead of a window, and Discord blew up. What's that? Yeah, I have them in my ear. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Change windows. This is what we're looking at right now on the delta. So NQ going higher on delta means that there's more asks than there are bids, which means there's more buyers than there are sellers currently. I want to see this bottom come out in delta before looking short, but if I go long, really I can go long above this. And then C black, I saw your tag, the CBD indicator. It depends on your platform, but there's one on Ninja. There's one on ATAS is what I'm using right now. Just testing it out. There's one on Motive Wave. There's one on Trade8. Lots of different places. Let me see where you are. Still just watching. Cash is a position. Tony in trading chat saying what we're all thinking. Well, friends, we've been in this 7.5 point zone, open to close, for 20 minutes. Well, I'll give it a little bit more generosity. A 12 point open to close for 20 minutes. Definitely looking. Price action definitely would be screaming short. Delta starting to curl too. I'm going to go ahead and open a short here, 43.75. Going to go 20 points here. Apple falling off a cliff here. Closing out at half hour. Where is it? Here it is. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here's that delta. So as we fell down here, delta didn't make a new low and then ate up all those orders. So out at half hour, probably flipping bias to long. Failed 2 down. Half hour loss, not bad at all. We are inching towards positive delta. Again, just delta being a fancy word for more buyers than sellers. Right now, ever since that move, we've had more buyers than sellers. The short was right at the low of a retrace for delta. Right now we're at the high. So a 3-2 revert or a 2-2 reversal here. 3-1 failed to. Got some heavy wicks out of ES. Apple is the only one that's falling right now. But right back into that zone. Kind of split now. Again, just totally fine with ending the day with just half hour here. If anything, feeling more long. 15-minute, about to go 2 up. We do have VWAP coming up here in 10 points. Certainly looking long here on NQ. Would rather see a 1 minute close over this fair value gap to invalidate that fair value gap before going long, but a 5 minute close here would be sufficient as well. Going long, 60.50, 20 points. 212 up on the 15. Internal change of character on the 1. Liquidity grabs short. Just not loving that Apple's going so far short. But Tesla's kind of counteracting that right now, I suppose. Gonna go ahead and close break even here. Could regret it, but well, a couple points in profit, so kind of biting into that half hour loss, but really don't want to be here if we're not going to move immediately. Yeah, I got 2 points off there. What happened with Apple? Nothing. Interesting. Glad I got out of that one. Took 2 points rather than would be down 10 right now. This 5-minute fair value gap still holding. Technically, it's wicked above, but hasn't closed over it yet. Failed 2 on the 5. Failed 2 on the 15, 2-2 reversal on the 5. NQ back to negative delta on the day. All right, what do we got tomorrow? Let's look at the. Oh yeah, that was broken. So tomorrow we have. Oops, I didn't want to do that actually. So tomorrow we have at 8:30, 8:15. We have non-farm employment. We have NFP on Friday, which is typically a good day to trade. Then we have tomorrow employment costs, Chicago PMI at 9:45. So we'll have to be not in a trade at 9:45. Crude oil at 10:30, and then of course FOMC at 2. Thursday we have 10 o'clock news, but other than that, 8:30 and 10 o'clock news. But other than that, should be cleared. And on Friday, really, guys, today and really yesterday is just survival. Just got to wait for a great trading day that is likely to come later this week. So price action looks disgusting. Don't give up on it. Just be patient. Base hits right now, which is all I'm going for. Mag 7's curling right now. You see all this red, 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 very red. So valid shorts. I'm going to go short here. 41.25 base hits. 41.25. Tight leash on this one too. It's got 1 minute to get me in profits. I will not hold this into a 5-minute open. Unless I'm in profit, of course. All right, stops above that 1 minute high for break even. All right, taking half R to cancel out the earlier loss. So break even on the day, break even on the trade. Got that 2-2 reversal. Delta's looking good. I'll send a screenshot here in chat. Actually, I'll just post it on my channel. All right, hopping out break even on the rest. So flat on the day so far. Went a little bit heavier on that one. I've started going smaller on my first trade of the day because I think for the past 7 trading days, I've lost my first trade of the day. I don't know how typical that is for me, but I'll have to find that data. Because if that's the case, I'm going to do an extra trade in a practice account before I even alert anything. I'm looking last January, I lost the first trade like about half the time. Oh no, this is this year. '24, '25, both were, yeah. So I guess it's about half the time. Just need to get that extra trade out of my system each morning before I switch over to my actual accounts. Five minutes left on this, or 5 seconds left on that 5-minute candle. $10.50 here. I'd be very happy with leaving break even, but if I can squeeze another good trade in here, I will. Delta's following, so I feel good about taking a short if I get a setup. risky short here at 26. Breakout trade. Finger on the trigger. Tight leash right now. I know I gave it 20 points, but in no shape or form is that going to get hit. I will trail to the 1 minute high there for a stop out at break even. So stops at 28.75. All right, stop break even. 10.55 here. Reason for the break even is usually after a 5-minute open, it retraces a good chunk. If we go 2 down here on the 5, I'm interested in getting back in. But for all I know, it could go all the way up to the open and tap that open and not go down. But that'd put me at 18 points in drawdown. Not willing to be in that on a day like today. Wait, did I update that in the channel? All right, right at 11 o'clock. I'm honestly very, very, very happy with my trading today. After yesterday, I knew I needed to find a way to sit out a chop. Chose to wait until news was out, had a half hour win, half hour loss, and then two break evens. I gave it a shot. Look at this price action, and this is not optimal for making money. So very, very happy with how I traded today. Hopefully this is something to stick around, the delta, and I mean I've been really enjoying it. I'm gonna spend some couple hours today looking at it. Oh shoot, we have Teaching Tuesdays today. I was just about to say have a great day, but everybody's sticking around for Teaching Tuesdays. I hope we're going over Fibonacci's. So I actually learned some stuff while doing the research on it about just the how the numbers are created and all that. So I hope you stick around for Teaching Tuesdays. I'll just keep the stream open. We'll take a 5-minute break so I can go say hello, good morning to my son, and then we'll get on with Teaching Tuesdays. Okay. Alrighty. Alrighty. Well, stick around for Teaching Tuesdays. Done trading for today. We're gonna go over Fibonacci's in just a bit. We'll see y'all in just a couple minutes. Alrighty. I hope most people stuck around. We are going to switch chats to FreeBC for Teaching Tuesdays. let's go ahead and shut this down. Okie dokie. Okay, got that. Gonna go on here. If you are newer to Teacher Tuesdays, how I run it is I typically just record the lesson here, and then I will open it up to the chat afterwards. So if you have questions, you're very welcome to send them in. I just will not be looking at them until after the lesson is done. Okie dokie. Why is this loading? Present. What's going on, guys? It's Expo Jesse. Today we're going to be talking about how to use Fibonacci's, how I use them, and how they can be used in your trading. Okay, so Fibonacci analysis was first discovered by Leonardo Pisano. I hope I'm saying that right. Also known as Fibonacci. He discovered a sequence of numbers that now are named after him. The Fibonacci sequence is what it's called, and it is a sequence of numbers that progress like so: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, and so on and so forth. So you can go on forever. How you do that is the number that comes after is found by adding the 2 before it. So, for example, here we're at 1, 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8, etc., etc. Fibonacci's are found everywhere in life. Growth rings on trees, architecture, for example, like the peak of a building, buildings themselves, and plants. Pretty interesting. So what? How does this affect trading? So not only is the sequence interesting, but also the relationship that the numbers have with each other. For example, if you find the ratio between each number in the Fibonacci sequence, you will notice that it is 1.618 times larger than the previous number in that sequence. For example, we went through that sequence. If we recalculate or calculate 89 divided by 55, we'll get 1.618. Fibonacci is an example of the natural ebb and flow that we experience in life. And knowing this, we can also find the same sequences in trading and find its natural ebb and flow. So Fibonacci sequences, this is for the retracement. So we'll go through all these, and then the next page we'll say how to find them for extensions too. So the 61.8. I know that a lot of people have used Fibonacci's, but I actually didn't know this until I looked up how it was how it was found. I just kind of took the, find the 50 to 61.8. That's the golden zone. Let's look at it. But it's very interesting how it's created. So 61.8 is found by dividing one number by the number that follows it in the sequence. So for example, 55 divided by 89. 38.2 is found by dividing the one number by the number that is two sequences away from it. So 34 divided by 89. 23.6 is the same thing, but three sequences away from it. So 21 divided by 89. 50% is not actually found by the difference between 0 and 100. It's actually from 61.8 and 38.2. 76.4% is found by finding the differences between 38.2 and 23.6, which is 14.6, and adding it to 61.8. 100% is found, for the sake of finding them in retracements, it's found by finding out where the trend starts, and the 0% is found by finding where the trend ends. The golden zone is found between the 50% and the 61.8. Many traders deem this to be the most optimal trade entry for a trend-based trend. But a 23.6 or a 38.2% retracement is still very valid for a strong trend, but most traders would prefer to wait in and get in at a discount. So here's an example of a Fibonacci. As you can see up here, I have the start of the trend. Down here, it's actually to this candle wick here. I just pull it to the right so that I can have more candles in the retracement. So start of the trend, bottom of the trend. The 0.5 is halfway between 38.2 and 61.8. And then you can see all the sequences here and how price reacts to each level. So here is Fibonacci sequences for extension. The 1.618 found by dividing one number by the one before it. 261.8 found by dividing one number by the one that's two before it. And then, as we can assume, 423.8 is found by dividing one number by the one that is three before it. So as we can see, these numbers repeat no matter how far into the sequence we go. And this is very important because when we look at trading a chart, we know that algorithms are mathematically driven, right? And so these numbers will inevitably show up in our trading or in a chart. So here's how I use Fibonacci's in trading. So like I said, you find the start of the trend, you find the end of the trend, and that's where you place your Fibonacci. So here's the start of a trend, a downtrend, and I kind of skipped some of these pullbacks and just went all the way down. All right, no, I didn't. I went back here. So I went from the start of the trend to the bottom of the trend, which is right here. I just drew my Fibonacci, pulled it to the right to get more candles in there. I mark out which Fibonacci sequences I would like to use, and then I wait for price to react to those levels. So it's very important. Some teachers would teach that Fibonacci's you just buy at the golden zone. For me, that's not really how I like to use them. I like to play a reversal out of a discount area. Not only that, but also seeing it bounce off of a Fibonacci. So here's we come down and then we retrace back to the golden zone. Remember, that's between the 50% and the 61.8. And then we have a reversal signal. Here's a 3-2 based on the strat. And then I have these price targets, the 23.6, the 50, and the 61.8. And those are my price targets to go to if I didn't have price targets based on price action. So if we're just going straight up right now, we're at all-time highs on ES and NQ. And if I were buying into all-time highs and entering based off of Fibonacci, these would kind of be my price targets, just based on that. I know that algorithms are mathematically driven, so this is probably where price is going to react. As we can see, it would have hit all three price targets in this example that was obviously cherry picked. So here's my Fibonacci setup very simply. So I have my 50 and 61.8 in yellow, so I know that it's the golden zone. Like I said, the 23.6 and 38.2 are still worthy of being on the chart, but they're not. If you're buying off of that, you have to know that you're not buying at a discount, and price could go further and retrace further. I have the 78.6 just for it to be on there, and in case it does reject that far. I don't really like to see price action go that deep into a retracement. Then I have the 1, and then I have the 0, 23.6, the 0.5, and 0.618. These are negative just because of how my Fibonacci retracement tool is. They're negative, and then I put them at green. Technically, the 0 retracement is a price target as well. So we'll go through some examples here. So here is a day we just went pretty far down. And remember, you want to, when you're drawing Fibonacci's, you want to kind of get away from the noise. So you could have drawn your fib from up here to right here, but it's not really the bottom of the trend. And down here is where I would say the bottom of the trend is. Then once we started curling up, then you can place your fib. Now, once we do that, we see that price came, tapped into the golden zone, and then after it taps into the golden zone, that's when you're on alert. That's when you're looking for entry based on your trading system. For me, that would have been this failed 2-2 reversal, and then would have been looking short. Could have also gotten in here, and your stop loss could be you could either go the 61.8 level and wait for a hold over that. You could do a fair value gap, or just however your trade system says to manage your stop losses. And then price targets are as follows. You have the 0 for a full retracement. You're probably looking at 2R or so for a full retracement. And then the next 3 are listed below. I think in this example, it only hit the 2. And for me, I've done some backtesting, a lot of backtesting on this, especially in my forex days. And I would trail TPs. So if I hit my first TP, I'd move my stop either to the 23.6 or 38.2. If I hit my second TP, then I'm moving my stop to the 0. If I hit my third TP, it's going back to this TP here, so on and so forth. So that way you're at least trailing profits. Here's a second example. I think we have 4 total. So here's an example of a deeper retrace. And also you can see here, it rejects off of a fair value gap. And so price, it starts here for the trend. That's where I start my fib. It ends down here. I just drew it to the right to catch more candles. And it goes up to the 61.8, and then there's a 3-2 reversal, and then goes all the way down to almost the second TP. Probably would have gotten stopped out here, but you have another entry here on a fair value gap and a 38.2 retracement rejection. So there's multiple entries in here, as you can see. Here's the third example. Here's a bullish example. So trend starts here, ends here. We retrace back to the golden zone. We have a failed 2. Here's a 2-2 reversal, probably entering there. Stop loss below this this failed 2, and then hits the first TP, and then barely misses the second TP. And here's the last example. So here's a little bit of a bigger trend. I just ignored this one to start, but this is an example of a shallow retrace. So trend starts here, ends here, comes to the 236 or the 23.6 technically. And then the trend is strong because remember, a 23.6 and 38.2 is still very valid for a Fibonacci retracement. But we have to know that it's not at a discount. A discount is above the 50% level. So because of that, any entry here would probably need a wide stop, or it would need a wide stop or a very tight stop, whichever one. If you're okay getting stopped out and re-entering, then a tight stop's good. If you are not a fan of getting stopped out and re-entering, then you'd have to put your stop somewhere up here. And so that'd be a very wide stop, and you're probably only getting 1-to-1R here. But if you did a tight stop, in this case, you would have gotten probably a 1-to-4 or so. So that's 4 examples of Fibonacci's, how I use them. Fibonacci's are a very, very important piece of the puzzle. And like I said, I don't just sell when it hits the 50% or the golden zone. I look for an entry here. Here's a good example as well. This would have, I've drawn so many fibs. I know that this trend from, let me go back, sorry. This trend from here to here, this is a 50% retrace at least. And then we have a 2-1-2 reversal. and then it would have hit all the TPs. And once you have enough practice under your belt, you're able to also see retracements and just guess and say, okay, that's probably a 50% retracement, and then start looking for an entry there. So Fibonacci's are everywhere in life. They're especially prevalent in trading, and a very important piece of the puzzle. So I hope you guys enjoyed. That is Teaching Tuesdays this week. Pretty short one, but don't need to go more in depth and make it more complicated than it has to be. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next week. Alrighty, opening it up to questions. Questions. I am switching over to TradingView because that way I can show fibs if needed. Crystal says, so do you just eyeball the chart, or is this worked into your indicator? So the indicator has an automatic fib. I don't like those very much because, and I should have added in the lesson that Fibonacci's can be subjective. So it's not, that's also a reason why you wait for a retracement of some sort. But let's go to a different day because this trading right here is disgusting. I said it this morning, but I'm going to pat myself on the back for not having 100 trades today and getting chopped up. I had to break even on the day, and I'm not even going to trade them. I'm very happy with the performance. Anyway, so this was an example. So I can eyeball it and say, okay, if I take this move here, that's definitely at least halfway up the move, right? And then I've drawn so many fibs in my lifetime that I can just see that that's a golden zone. And then this is when I'm looking at a reversal, right? So a 2-2 reversal here, based on the strat, stop loss would have been 23 points. First TP, if you did just fibs, first TP would be 2.2R. Next one's up here at 3.5, etc., etc. I love fibs everywhere, but they're especially good in forex. Not that they're not good in NQ, but I love them in forex because forex is so algorithmically driven that it kind of it's just everywhere in forex. I've done back tests and I could trade just Fibonacci extensions on forex prop firms and make good money, but I'm silly and don't do that. But the point is, it's very possible. So again, here, I can see that this retracement, probably 50%. I can see that this retracement, probably 50%. So if I do 50, there's golden zone. And then the next one here's golden zone. And then you're just waiting for a reversal out of there, right? So 2-2 reversal, you would have probably gotten stopped out unless you moved your stops below this, giving yourself a little extra wiggle room. Because I wouldn't do, well, actually that's 10 points. So you could have probably gotten stopped out other than it being lunch hour. But here's a 2-2. That would have hit all PTs and for a max of 4.5 R. And then here's another one. Shallow retrace, which tells us what? It's a strong trend. Up here, golden zone. Bryce said they're just as good on futures. I use them for retracements, but mostly for all target. Oh yeah, Bryce is a mostly Fibonacci trader, aren't you, Bryce? I love fibs. I probably don't use them as much as I should, but mostly that's because we haven't had a trend worthy of placing a Fibonacci in like a week. So, you know, kind of a struggle bus there. But yeah, you should, if you guys are learning fibs, just go through and place a ton of fibs and see how price reacts to them. Very important to have this skill set, and even just to see retracements. Right, most traders will look at Fibonacci's and show the 50% retrace, or they'll have like a 70 or 61.8 to 65 golden pocket or whatnot. Everybody kind of does their own thing with fibs, which is okay, but just don't go too far away from what Fibonacci's actually are and how they work. It's not just you pick a random number and it works. It's a part of a sequence and has a correlation with math and um, all that type of stuff. So it's important that you make it your own, but also don't stray too far away from the beaten path. Oh, Wall family is Bryce. I got you. And yeah, he said, "Oh yeah, thanks for the double view, Bryce. Appreciate it." Crystal is typing a message here. This may be outside the scope, but have you traded ICT's 0TE setup? Because I know he uses. I haven't. I don't know all of like what the names are for his setups. I know some of his strategies, but I don't know his setup names. The only one I really paid attention to is the Silver Bullet. But I do know he's used fibs before. I think it was like the 70s, I believe, for like a deep discount trade. But you can tell me if I'm wrong there. He has a 2016 OTE setup. I think it combines fibs with fair value gaps, but not sure. Haven't gone deep down that rabbit hole. That's what I find with a lot of his stuff is it is a rabbit hole. It gets as complicated or simple as you make it to be. My uncle is strictly ICT, and he could tell me every theory in the book on how price moves and all that. It for my brain cells, I can't comprehend some of his concepts, so I haven't gone in deep into his zero TEs. But I can look into it maybe. Let me see if it's easy to follow here. Oh, it looks kind of similar. Uh, So he's looking for a liquidity sweep, market structure shift with displacement, Fibonacci, and you're entering on the 0.59, stop loss at the 1. Take profit at 0.14, which is weird. For a 1-to-1, negative 0.25 for 1-to-2, negative 0.62 for a 1-to-3, negative 1 for 1-to-4, and negative 2 for 1-to-6. Look at another example here. Yeah, I don't. Interesting. Would love to talk to him. He's in the server. Sam Quinton. Tag him, and just say what's up. He's kind of focusing on his own trading, so he hasn't hopped in like calls or anything for a little bit. But hopefully he's turning the leaf and starting to go down the funded path and all that stuff. So hope to see him sometime this year, actually. But yeah, you should absolutely reach out to him. He is very open to talking to people. I think he just keeps his blinders on, per se. But man, look at this price action. Really, the only trade here, and as we review the only trade here was that at 9:30? Yeah, 212, but you're holding through news. The only trade after news was this failed 2-2 for what? 6 points. Here's a 2-1-2, but you're going into a fair value gap. I would be pretty hesitant on that. And you would think you're up like 40 points right now, but really you're only up 10. Bouncing off a golden zone and break a structure fair value gap on 1 hour. Golden zone, huh? Oh, bullish golden zone, yeah. I didn't even see that hourly fair value gap. Yeah, this would be long all day, right? All the way back up. I mean, based on Fibonacci's, all the way back up to the 700s. It's cool having another fib trader in here, Bryce. I still need to pick your brain on that EA, the fib EA, before I go and have one built. Where'd my chart just go? Let's see what the hourly delta is like. Negative delta on the hourly, but bottoming out. So here, is Mario in here? I guess I should have opened it up. I don't know if. Yes. Here's an example of. Actually, let me put it on the chart so I don't just. That would be silly for me not to put it on the chart. So here's the hourly chart on NQ. And you can see that I don't know what this arrow is from. Let me fix this. Oh, it's just my practice. Okay. So you can see price comes down, huge negative delta, but doesn't make a new low. So prime for a bullish move probably. We do make a new high on price, but we don't make a new high on the delta, which tells me that there are not enough buyers to continue the move, and we're going to need a retrace. So it's important mostly just for trend following, I guess, as well as finding areas of weakness for a possible reversal. It's funny, if I zoom out, these days look pretty nasty on the hourly chart. that's just on the hourly chart, which obviously we don't we don't really trade off of. But let me find you an example of maybe some divergence in another day. Here's a perfect example. So here's NQ on the 26th, which would have been last week, I think. So here we make a high, delta's making a high, okay. We make a low, delta's making a low. We make another high, delta's making a high. We make another high, but delta didn't make another high. And obviously this is outside my trade window, but delta didn't make another high. And then after that, you probably could have taken a 2-2 reversal or a failed 2 here or something and gotten the bulk of this move and keep making new lows. We make a new high, delta's making a lower high, etc., etc. Glenn says, what is this delta thing? Delta is the difference between the bids and the ask. So every minute, every second, price moves based on bid and ask, right? If there's more people on the bid, then the bid is held and price goes up, meaning that we would have a positive delta because more people are buying the ask than the bid. If we have more people buying the bid than the ask, we have a negative delta, which tells us that sellers are active. So right now, here's the chart for NQ. And again, I am still in the learning process for this. I'm going to tell you what I know. So here's NQ for the day. Let me move this over here. And up. So here's the 1 minute chart. Each of these like little yellow dots are part of the DOM where there's heavy orders. So you can see up here, there's heavy orders up here. There were heavy orders up here, which stopped price from moving up. Doesn't mean it's going to stop every time, as you can see, but just something to watch. So right now I can look at my chart and say, okay, at 53 to 55, there's some orders there. And then if I go up, I see from 50 at 54, there's a 219 lot order sitting there. So anyway, so delta is going to tell me if, like I said, if it's red, it means that there's more people buying the bid than the ask. If it's blue or supposed to be green, then there's more people buying the ask than the bid. And what this tells me is in an uptrend, I want more people to be buying the ask than the bid. I don't want it to be, I want more people to be buying the bid buying the ask consistently. So here we're going up and when we came up here, you can watch the live stream from earlier. I saw on Delta that we weren't making equal or even a lower high. We were actually making higher highs on Delta, which tells me that there's more buyers than sellers in this area. And then as we increased, here's another high. We have more buyers than sellers, which makes sense. We got a deeper retrace here. Then we started to curl down. I think I actually took a trade in this zone. And if I would have held, it would have been, pretty decent. But hindsight's always 2020. It probably wasn't a great setup there. But then we have negative delta. Well, then here, price is trying to break out, but our delta is not even lower than what it was down here. So I'd want to see. I'm skeptical here to keep going short. I think this is a trade I got in and expected us to move, and then we didn't move quickly, so I got out, and that's because Delta didn't make a new low. And Delta didn't make a new low because the bid was not being bought up as much. So it's still slowly going down, but the Delta's kind of flat but barely going down. If the Delta were front running this, that's okay. I really want to see both of these go together, and they weren't. It wasn't really price wasn't able to break out, and Delta was telling me that, hey, we might not have enough sellers yet. So, like I said, it's something that I'm adding into my trading to hopefully keep me out of the chop, and it did a great job today. So, again, just a disclaimer. I don't know everything about it. I'm still learning, but it is good. It is helping me. Is it a bad thing that my brain is starting to hurt? I guess probably. You don't want to go into the analysis paralysis, but I go through these waves where I can add one or two things into my training to improve it. And as long as my trading statistics don't decrease, then I keep it. And I think Delta will probably stay around for a while. It's good to know. I mean, it's good to know today that we're negative 1600 Delta, which tells me that the day is more sellers than buyers. It doesn't mean I can't make money up to the upside, but it does mean that I need to be especially cautious, probably, right? So just another layer of confluence for me. And again, mostly just to keep me out of the chop. Yesterday was just, it's hard to tell when, I mean, I've been doing this I have 2,500 plus tracked trades, and then probably another 1,000 of those that were scalps and didn't get tracked. But, so I have a lot of history in the market, and it's still hard for me to know when I'm in chop versus ramping up for a move. Like, how are you to know that this area is not going to chop for forever? You don't. But if you weren't aggressive in this area, then you missed out on the most optimal trade entry. But yesterday, what am I on the 1 hour? Yesterday, like, obviously this is not a good area to be in. Nor this, really. So, something I'm working on. Any other questions? Short, sweet, to the point. A lot of the trades you were doing yesterday looked like the trade direction was correct, just chopped to the smaller stop loss, so it eventually wouldn't lose, maybe. Yeah, I feel like yesterday was okay on the analysis, just not great follow through. I mean, I was short bias, which is the correct play down here. And then after this liquidity sweep, it's long, but that liquidity sweep happened at 11. So the end of my trading day, but last like week or two, it's just been chopping in the morning, you know. But like, let's just go back to a random day in October and pull up I can't. I can only go to there. Pull up sessions on chart and then change the session from 9:30 to 11. Look at this morning session on a random Monday in October. Look at this morning session that Tuesday. And I'm not cherry picking this. Wednesday was not so good. Thursday was decent. Friday, really good. The next Monday, really good. Tuesday, not so good. This Wednesday was pretty good. Thursday, really good. Friday, man. Monday, good. Tuesday, pretty good. Wednesday, really good. Thursday, at least moved. Friday at least moved, right? So like at least this was just 2 months ago, so it's not going to end forever, but definitely going to have these days where you just have to sit in the chop for this day, and then when this day comes, you know, you're 170 points in the morning, next day's chop, next day's okay, and then this day was amazing. So you, as you can see, you just have to make sure you're alive for these days and your account is alive for these days so that when a trend does come, you're able to catch it. So yeah, always good to go back and look and remember that it doesn't always have chop in the market. Looks even better if I do that. Anywho, alrighty. Well, if you guys have any other questions, I am in chat, and you're more than welcome to shoot me a message in there, and I will answer as soon as I'm able. Alrighty, I will see you all here tomorrow. Another day of capital preservation. We have FOMC in the afternoon, but I will be here in the morning. So I will see you all here tomorrow, and looking forward to hopefully a day of capital preservation, maybe squeaking out a couple winners, and really looking forward to the end of the week. Alrighty, thanks for coming out, guys. I will see you all here tomorrow.